about your yes, now we are also live in YouTube, dear professor. Some people also will watch this session in YouTube. Then let me I first introduce you to our participants, and after that maybe we can continue with some questions and your answers, your comments about this. But let me first I introduce Professor Robert Aumann to our participants. First, of course, those are watching us in Zoom and YouTube, dear all participants. Welcome to the seminar of Department of Economics and Yıldız Technical University. This is another special day for our department. Today we are going to welcome dear Professor Robert Aumann. I believe that most of you know Professor Aumann since he is an internationally famous economist, and he has many contributions, especially in the fields of mathematics and economics. And as you know, he received a Nobel Memorial Prize in Economic Sciences in 2005, together with Thomas Schelling, especially for his works about game theory. Of course, in addition to this, Professor Aumann has a long and fascinating career, along with significant numbers of books and articles and many prestigious honors and awards. So anyway, I don't want to take your time more. I will leave the floor to our guests. And by the way, you can ask your questions, dear participants, by raising your hands in Zoom and turning your microphones on. Also, I will follow chat boxes in Zoom and YouTube. You can write down on chat boxes, and then I will direct questions in order and in YouTube and in Zoom. Dear Professor, if it's suitable for you, maybe we can start your early works and your early careers. Maybe you can say something about the process which begins maybe your studentships in 1950s, and of course there is a long way by starting with your university education in MIT, and in the final, which goes to Nobel Prize in 2005. Maybe you can say something how it started and how it continued.
Well, I did a doctorate in pure mathematics. Yes, it had nothing to do with economics or game theory or anything like that. I did a doctorate in knot theory, a knot like one ties in a rope, okay, and this is it's a branch of algebraic topology, and it has absolutely nothing to do with game theory whatsoever. Yes, but at MIT, when I was doing my doctorate, the last year that I was in MIT, in the academic year 1953 to 54, John Nash, who had just done a doctorate at Princeton in game theory, was a young instructor. Just done a doctorate, he became an instructor at MIT in the math department, and I was a senior graduate student, so close to finishing my degree. So we got very friendly, and Nash told me about some of his work in game theory and about game theory in general. Now, I did not think that this was very interesting. Okay. It did not make a big impression. I mean, I listened to what he said and I thought a little bit about it, but I didn't think that it was, it didn't make a big impression on me. So, okay, so I finished my doctorate and I went to Princeton University. And at Princeton University, I became part of an outfit that was doing operations research in the math department, in the mathematics department, operations research, and for very practical stuff. Yes, very, very practical. It was very different from the work that I had done towards my doctorate, which was highly abstruse. And now, over there, we were given a problem of defending a city from air attack. This was a problem given to us by Bell Telephone Laboratories, which was developing a surface-to-air missile. In other words, a missile for shooting down airplanes. Now, the problem that was given to us was you know what? Could I ask, make a request? I'm going to interrupt myself. I'd like to make a request. In addition to Professor Tugral,
Yes.
Nobody on the screen is showing me his face. Now Mr. Professor Uster also, yes. I would like to, it's very different. Talking on Zoom is quite different from talking to an audience. Because when you talk to an audience, you see the faces of the audience and you see how the audience reacts to what you're saying. and it's very important. So Zoom has a disadvantage in this, that you don't see the audience. You're not part of it. But now this disadvantage is ameliorated when you see the people, okay? Now, especially Sima Yilmaz Genth, with whom I've been corresponding, okay? She does not show her face. I'm not even sure she's listening at all. So I would really appreciate it if the people who are listed over here would show their faces, would go do the video, okay? Now, now we already have 4 people who are listening to us, but that's very nice. But I'd like to have some more. So please try to show your faces so that I can get some kind of feedback on what I'm saying. It's like talking to a wall otherwise. Yes. Okay. All right. So thank you very much. Sima, thank you very much. Thank you. Okay. And you know what? You're not going to infect me over the airwaves from Turkey to here. So you can take off your mask. Yes. Okay. So.
Professor.
Okay, so now let's get back to our
sorry for this situation. I am in hospital because a little bit
very good. All right, so let's get back to this. I got to know Nash.
Sorry for this.
I got to know Nash when I was in my last year in graduate school, actually, and there I was given this problem of attacking now there were very few atomic weapons around at the time, okay, I don't know whether you know this, but you know that at the end of World War II, the only 2 bombs that had been produced, there were just 2 atomic bombs, 2 nuclear bombs, and they were both used, okay? So President Truman of the United States decided to use first 1 atomic bomb on Hiroshima, and then when the Japanese did not immediately respond, a few days later, he released the 2nd atomic bomb on Nagasaki. But those were the only 2 he had. He didn't have any more. Okay. So he managed to make an impression on the Japanese, and they, after the 2nd bomb, they said, "Hey, he's going to destroy Japan completely," and they gave up. Okay. So that was some game theory over there, okay? Well, not game theory, but game practice. Anyway, so Seema has left us again. Seema has left us. Okay. Seema, stay with us. Stay with us, Seema. Okay. All right, after all that correspondence, I think you should stay with us.
Professor,
Okay,
sorry, I am in hospital. Anıl hocam,
Okay,
Yes,
galiba sesim gelmiyor, çekmiyor, söyleyebilir misin?
So let me continue with my story.
Sorry, dear professor, sorry for interrupting, but I think Professor Genç is in hospital now for some reason, and she has not a good internet connection that she wrote me. So I just want to say.
Okay.
So
now, we were given this problem, and there were not many atomic weapons around. So what they did was they had a large, many airplanes, okay, maybe 10 or 20 airplanes, yes, only a few of which, 2 or 3 were carrying atomic weapons. I mean, that was the problem, okay, because they didn't have many atomic weapons, okay. So we were asked what to do with that kind of situation, how to aim the missiles at the airplanes, and I realized very quickly that this was a problem in game theory. And although I had not been interested in game theory very much when Nash was talking about it to me at MIT, I said, well, this has to. So I wrote a report. I did something. I don't remember what I wrote. It's a difficult problem, and from that, I got interested in game theory for its own sake. From that practical problem, I got interested in game theory for its own sake. And, you know, like we say, the rest is history. So that I got into it after doing a doctorate. After my doctorate, I got interested in game theory. My doctorate was in pure mathematics, in algebraic, in knot theory, okay, which is pure mathematics, but it's very plastic. It's very, you know, you can see the problems. The problems are difficult, very, very difficult, but they are very meaningful, okay. It's, you're talking about a knot, a real knot, okay. I can tell you what I did if you're interested, but maybe it will be difficult. I need some paper. So that's yeah. Okay. Next question. Let me call my secretary and ask for a cup of coffee.
Okay.
Hello. That's an advantage of Zoom, okay?
So
You can
by
ask
the way,
your secretary for a cup of coffee in the middle of an interview.
okay, good. Right. So by the way, dear participants, as I said at the beginning, if you have some questions, it may be about academia, about game theory, about economics, mathematics, and of course about the professors' long careers. You can ask your questions so by raising hands. So yeah, we are waiting for your questions, but of course when we're waiting this, we will also continue to talk with your professor. And professor, so let me ask. So actually, you know, it's an interesting story, maybe. I think having a Nobel Prize in economic sciences, it's a huge thing, and it's interesting that your early education was about mathematics and game theory after your doctorate. So I think it maybe shows the importance of mathematical basics. So for economics. So you know, I think there's no another examples who studied economics and taking Nobel Prize in physics maybe, but you studied mathematics. Your experts are maybe in mathematics, but you have a Nobel Prize. So in economics, what do you think about this relationship, the importance of mathematics about economics? Because economics actually is a social sciences, but mathematics is not a social sciences. So what do you think about this? So because there are some discussions, especially in important economic works, we see deep mathematics and statistics, but some others says that so it's actually not good. So because economic is social sciences, and when we use deep math and statistics in economics, then we can lose some social aspects of economics. So what do you think about this? I mean, about the relationship between economics and mathematics?
Well, what's the relationship between economics? Is very much driven by what people want to do, okay?
Yes.
What people want to do, okay? So, for example, the market price, the price of objects that you buy on the market are driven by a rather complicated mathematical process, okay? Because it means that we're talking about what people want, what people like, and how much they like it, okay? And it's for example not clear at all that prices are driven by supply and demand, okay? Now, it's not clear at all that it's possible to have a system where where you have a price system where all the supply exactly for each good, there are hundreds, thousands of goods, millions, okay, are driven by where the exact where supply is exactly equal to demand, and that is it's a mathematical problem. Okay, that was one of the first. That of course was what was solved by Arrow and De Breu in the 1950s. That of getting a supply to match demand in each one of thousands of goods. Now, I think in economics there are forces, okay, which are driven by what people want to do, okay, and the interaction of these forces are mathematical, are subject to mathematical analysis. Interaction of these forces, they go in different directions, and that is, I think that's why mathematics appears in economics, but not so much in other social sciences, okay? Maybe when you study, let's say, history or something like that, yes, it's not a question of balancing forces, how different forces interact with each other. I think the other disciplines in the social sciences, I think, are more descriptive. What is it that happens, like in history or in sociology? What is it that's going on over there? What on political science? By the way, political science also is subject to game theoretic analysis, but I think maybe it's a little less. The forces over there, I think, are too complex even for mathematical analysis, as we know nowadays. It's in politics, it's a mess. Yes, we do have theories in game theory about how to deal with political situations, but I think they are maybe a little less relevant, okay? Because in politics, it's not so easy to write down precisely what it is that people want, okay? And so you have, for example, a Shapley value, okay, of a parliamentary system. That means that you have, like, I don't know, what kind of parliamentary system do you have in Turkey? You have a parliamentary system? In other words, do you have a parliament? Okay, you have parties, yes?
Yes.
Have parties. The prime minister, his name is Erdogan, right? Erdogan.
Yes.
And now he represents a party which has a majority in parliament.
So
does his party have a majority in parliament?
Yes,
more than 50%. Yes? Yes?
Yes, more than
Okay. So if he has more than 50% of parliament, then he has all the power. Okay, he has all the power. It's not that he has, let's say he has 60%. I don't know what it is. Maybe he has 80 or 90. I don't know. Yes, I don't follow Turkish politics.
So it's a little bit more than,
but let's say, well, how much does he have?
So a little bit more than 50, maybe 51 or 52.
51%?
Correct me if I'm wrong.
Is that right? Just 51%? Okay. So if you have 51%, that's very close to half of parliament, okay?
Yes,
but with that 51%, he has an absolute majority, okay? So it's not that he has 51% of the power. He has 51%, he has 100% of the power because he has a majority, okay? So now Lloyd Shapley developed an index of power, which is based on, so like 51% translates to all the power. 51% of parliament translates to 100% of the power. So now what happens if you have less than 51%? Like in Israel, at the beginning of Israel, I'm not talking about Israel now, but at the beginning there was one large party, okay, one large party and a whole bunch of smaller parties. So that large party, let's say, had 1/3 or 35%, 40% of the members of parliament, and there were a whole bunch of small parties. So that 40%, what does it translate into? It translates into more than half the power. Okay, more than half the power. Now, but these are mathematical considerations, okay? They don't have to do with policy. They don't have to do with ideology, okay? And it's true that the questions of power are very important in politics, okay? But there are also other directions which it's less possible to quantify them, to do mathematics with them, okay? So the Shapley value of a parliamentary system is only one aspect of the whole thing. It's also ideology. It's also how you are going to affect how many people are going to vote for you in the next election, and so on. It's not as clean as economics. In economics, it's supply and demand, what people want. Yes, so it's less subject to meaningful mathematization.
Yeah, thank you. So again, I just want to say, if you have questions, you can direct your questions to Professor Aumann. You can anytime interrupt me, especially me. You can interrupt me when I'm talking, so it doesn't matter. So we will continue with some questions. So as we talked about the process which Professor Aumann meets with game theory and economics. So actually, so it was interesting. I had another question, but now something comes to my mind after you tell about the story which you meet with game theory. It was in the Second World War, and now actually, of course, it's not as big as as big as the Second World War, but now in the world there is another war, so between Russia and Ukraine. So I just want to ask, how can I say, I just want to ask you to evaluate this war in terms of game theory. So because, so it's maybe much more interesting by comparing the Second World War, but because now we have the total different worlds. And I think, at least in my idea, I think there's no country which gets some benefits in a war. So can we evaluate this war in terms of game theory? So because now, yes, there's a war between Russia and Ukraine, but many countries like United States, European countries, and China, there are many actors in this world. So what may be the future of this war? So because if some other country can have some reaction, can give some reaction, then it may translate to the, maybe some people say that it may translate to the World War III. So, but I think World War III will be a bigger one, and I think that any countries like such as the United States or China can get benefit, or Russia can get benefit this world. So that's why I'm wondering what will be in the future about this war, and that's why I want to ask: can you evaluate this in terms of game theory?
Well, the Russia-Ukraine thing is of course a tremendous tragedy, yes, and I mean, morally speaking, there's actually no justification for the Russian attack on Ukraine. It's a terrible thing. Ukraine is an independent country, and they have the right to do whatever they think, and making war to enforce one's hegemony is absolutely it's despicable. One should denounce it in all terms. Okay, that's morally speaking. Okay, but you asked for a game theoretic analysis. Okay.
Yes.
And this is no joke. Yes, I'm smiling and laughing because but it's a very serious and it's a very sad matter. But I have to say this, and it's not very popular. I've said it in Israel, and people don't like it when I say it. You know, I like to go hiking. Well, I used to go. Yes, I don't. I'm a pretty old man, and I don't do very much hiking anymore. But I used to go. I used to go in Eastern California hiking. Okay, in the mountains of Eastern California, they're beautiful. Okay, lakes, sharp mountains, and so on. And there are wild bears in the mountains. Okay, wild bears. Now. I once was going with a grandson and hiking in Eastern California, and we met up with a bear. He was 10 meters away. Okay, 10 meters away. It was the bear. So I said to my grandson, "Stop. Okay, don't keep going." Okay, he was right on the trail, right on the path. Okay, facing us. I said, "Stop, don't run away. Because if you run away, the bear can run faster than you, okay? But don't run away, but don't go ahead. Don't go ahead, all right?" And so we stood there and we looked at each other. The bear looked at us and we looked at the bear. And a few minutes later, he went away, okay? And we kept hiking. So now, you don't want to threaten the bear, okay? You don't want him to feel that he is threatened by you, okay? And so, but you also don't want you don't want to feel that you don't want the bear to feel that you are prey, that he can eat you, okay? So you don't want to go back and you don't want to go forward. Okay, stand on the spot. And that's what we did, and it was okay. Okay, well, I'm still here to tell the story. Okay, all right. Now, you don't want to threaten the bear.
I got it.
Putin is a bear, okay? He is not, he's not, he plays the game by the rules, okay? I think the West made a big mistake by carrying on a love affair with Ukraine, okay? Putin is a bear. He feels threatened by it, and he's right. He's right, okay? He's right. I don't know how many of you, maybe Fatima, remembers the Cuban Missile Crisis, okay? You remember the Cuban Missile Crisis? Okay. In the Cuban Missile Crisis, Cuba is an independent country, okay? They can do what they want. And Khrushchev, the leader of Russia, sent atomic weapons to Cuba, okay? So now Kennedy, the United States, that was the bear, okay? They feel threatened. Well, you can do what you want, right? Cuba is an independent country. It happened to be communist, but it was 200 kilometers from Florida, okay? Okay, so he felt threatened and the world almost came to an end. You know, I remember in I think it was 62, I remember thinking to myself, Bob, the world is coming to an end in 2 weeks. Not in a year or in 10 years, in 2 weeks. Okay, it didn't happen that way because Khrushchev was the real hero of that story. He was the real hero and he withdrew. Okay, Kennedy was willing to destroy the world. Okay, and Khrushchev was the real hero by saving the world by withdrawing. Now, Ukraine is not exactly the same, but it's similar. Okay, the West is held a love affair with Ukraine, and they are right on the border with Russia. Okay, so you threaten a bear. You know, before you threaten a bear, you know, think it over twice. And the West did not think it over twice. But having gotten into that situation, I think the West is not responding properly because they are showing weakness. Okay, they are showing weakness. The Ukraine is defending itself heroically. And the West is showing weakness in the face of this, and it's not a good situation, okay? It's not a good situation because they are sending signals of weakness also to China, okay, but I think they were wrong in the first place. I think Ukraine should be left, you know, not necessarily to be similar to Russia. It could be a democracy and so on, but not with ties to the West. This is not a good thing.
Okay, thank you. So then, let me ask another question. So actually, it will be more about our students. So because now we are only almost 20 now, but we are only on YouTube, and other academicians and students will watch this recording in YouTube later. So I just want to ask. I think you are maybe you said that I'm an old man. And I always say that in this kind of situations to professor like yes, maybe you're an old man, but your ideas is very young, at least for us. Maybe it's not yet even existing if we didn't read about your ideas. So, but I just want to ask, maybe you are, I think your age is more than 90. More than 15 years ago, you received a Nobel Prize, and I think it's a big point for an academician. But as we see, you and some other Nobel Prize winners still continue to work. I mean, why I'm talking about this? Because some students, maybe also us. Sometimes we're very tired for working, and we are looking for some motivation for working. So I just want to ask you, so what's your source of energy for working, and so what's your motivation? So because sometimes it's even difficult for us, and we are just in the beginning of our careers. So that's why I want to ask your motivation about working. Maybe our students will listen this, and your motivation will be their motivation also.
Well, okay. First of all, it's true that I'm still working, but what I'm working at is I try to do a little bit of research, okay? And I try to get to do some writing and to do some research.
Mhm.
But most of my time is spent in activities like the one that I'm participating in now, okay, right now. So that is, it's talking about the past, okay? Now, what is the motivation? Why did I agree to give this interview? The reason I agreed to give the interview is because if people want to hear about my ideas, well, it's wonderful. You know, I try to sell my ideas, yes. But this is not new research, okay? It's true that I tried to do some new research, but it's not very, I don't have much time for it because I keep getting requests for interviews, for reading people's papers, for reading people's books, for things that have to do with the past and or with the present, yes, but not academic research. Most of it. I tried to do some academic research, and in fact, you know, I came a minute or two late to this meeting because I had forgotten that I have this meeting. Okay, so but I was reminded by an email, and I immediately signed on. So I'm trying to do some work, but most of it is giving lectures and writing articles or being interviewed or so on and so forth. There isn't very much. And that, of course, is a product of getting the Nobel Prize, yes? If I wouldn't have gotten the Nobel Prize, I wouldn't, people would not want to talk to me so much or hear from me or read my stuff, yes? So that's yeah, that's it. Okay.
Thank you. So then another question, so about if you have enough time, it may be the last question, by the way, and if there's no other questions. So again, I want to ask something about this mathematics economics relationship. So you know, we are an economics department, and as we talked earlier, the mathematics is a very important tool for us, and something this mathematics background, our students face the lack of mathematics background, in fact, and especially in graduate studies in master and doctorate students. So we'll need to also study mathematics to understand so better. So I want to ask that. So what do you want to say? I mean, I want to ask that how students should look at mathematics to understand better.
To understand.
To understand better. I mean, how
economics better?
Or no, mathematics. I just want to say for mathematics.
Why should students? What makes mathematics? How to study mathematics?
Yes, how to study mathematics, or so because in many times students are asking that, yes, I'm studying mathematics, but I couldn't understand. This is what student asks. So that's why I want to ask that how can we make understanding mathematics easier? That's why
I don't know how to answer that question. I mean, some people have for some people mathematics is easier, and for some people it's harder. People have different capabilities, and if one doesn't understand mathematics, well, that's it. Yes, I don't think there's. This is a question of people's abilities. It's not like exercise, yes, or running. Okay, we have a marathon in Jerusalem the day after tomorrow on Friday. Jerusalem will be closed down and people are running, so you can train for that by doing running every day or so on. Yes, practicing, playing music. Okay, playing the piano. You practice. If you practice, you play the piano better. Of course, you also need a considerable amount of skill in understanding and in doing the music. But mathematics, there is some element of practice in it, but mostly it's not. It's a question, either you have the capability, but, or the amount of capability that you have is not, you can't control it. Okay, you cannot control it. It's not up to you. It's up to your genes. Okay, that's it. And there are. By the way, I'm not very good at mathematics, okay? I'm maybe better than most people, but not very good. But there are people who are much, much better, and mathematics can be very deep, and also it's a question of your capabilities, and I don't think there's anything you can do. It's not like practicing or something you can do in order to be better at it.
Okay. So then, dear professor, really hosting you was a big honor for us. I think now I looked at YouTube also. There was no question in the chat box. I think Professor Genç, as I said earlier, Professor Genç sending her apologies to you since he's in hospital now. She couldn't attend so the seminar. I think there's a last minute action. And the professor hosting you, as I said, is a really very big honor for us. Thank you for your contributions.
Okay, I was very pleased to be with you today, and I wish you and this the economics department all the best, and much success, and all of Turkey much success. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, and also the participants. Thank you for your participation. Now, as there's no question, finally, again, by sending our thanks to Professor Aumann, I'm ending the session. Thank you very much, and good evening.
Thank you.